They say success is not about doing extraordinary things once. It's about doing ordinary things every single day without fail. But here's the secret no one likes to admit. Consistency is not glamorous. It's not a movie scene filled with fireworks and applause. It's quiet, it's repetitive, and at times, painfully boring. Yet, it is the single most powerful weapon you will ever hold. Because when you learn how to force yourself to be consistent, you stop living at the mercy of your moods, and you start living at the mercy of your mission. I remember an old man I once met in a dusty little bookstore on a rainy afternoon. He wasn't famous. He wasn't rich. But there was something about him. Something in the way he moved and the way he spoke. That made you feel he had conquered himself. I asked him, "What's your secret?" He smiled, and in a voice as soft as falling rain, he said, "Most people are slaves to how they feel in the moment. I decided long ago that I would be a slave to what I promised myself." Those words sank deep, because that's the truth, isn't it? We all make promises to ourselves. I'll wake up early. I'll work out every day. I'll write that book. I'll start that business. And for the first few days, we do. But then, one cold morning comes, and we say, "Not today." One hard day comes, and we say, "I'll get back on track tomorrow." And before we know it, the fire we started is nothing more than cold ashes. Consistency is the art of showing up, not just when it's easy, but when your bones ache, when your mind screams to stop, when every cell in your body is looking for an excuse to take the day off. And forcing yourself to be consistent, that is not about willpower alone. Willpower is like a match. It burns bright for a moment, then dies. Consistency is about building a furnace, a system that keeps burning, even when you're tired, unmotivated, or uninspired. In this journey we are about to take together, I will tell you stories of people who built that furnace. I will share with you the mental tricks, the subtle changes, the invisible chains they wrapped around their own wrists, not to trap themselves, but to keep themselves loyal to their dreams. By the end, you'll understand that to force yourself to be consistent, you don't need to feel ready. You don't need to feel motivated. You only need to understand how to build a life that doesn't give you a choice, but to keep moving forward. And so, my friend, let's begin, because the sooner you learn this, the sooner your life stops starting over every Monday. Chapter 1, The Hidden Enemy of Consistency, the Comfort Trap. Let me tell you a truth that most people avoid admitting. Consistency isn't destroyed by lack of talent, shortage of opportunities, or even bad luck. It is destroyed slowly and silently by comfort. Comfort, it feels warm. It feels safe. It feels like home after a long day. But it is also a beautiful prison, painted in soft colors with invisible bars. Think about it. You start something new, a workout routine, a side business, learning a language, and at the beginning, you are a firework. You're a weight before the alarm clock. You feel unstoppable. Your energy is contagious. But then comes the first rainy morning. The bed feels warmer than the gym. The Netflix series feels easier than the book you promised to read. The couch starts whispering, "Just today you deserve a break." And so begins a slow erosion of your dreams. A story of two roads. I once knew a young man named Arian. At 25, he had one of the sharpest minds I'd ever seen. He told me he wanted to start a small online store selling custom-made leather bags. For the first 2 weeks, he worked late into the night, designing logos, talking to suppliers, setting up a website. He was a machine. But then, one day, he skipped his work session because his friends invited him out for drinks. The next day, he told himself, "It's fine, I'll work double tomorrow." But tomorrow became next week, and next week became next month. By the time 6 months had passed, his online store was nothing more than a forgotten browser tab. Not because he wasn't capable, not because the market was bad, but because comfort became more persuasive than his purpose. Why comfort is a silent killer. Consistency thrives in a world of small, repeated actions. But comfort thrives in short-term rewards, the instant pleasure of rest, scrolling on your phone, eating that extra slice of cake. And here's the dangerous part. Comfort doesn't attack you like an enemy. It seduces you like a friend. It comes with gentle excuses. You've had a long day, take it easy. Missing one day won't matter. You can start again next week. But what comfort doesn't tell you is that every missed day makes it harder to start again. It's like letting a muscle weaken from lack of use. Soon, lifting even a light weight feels heavy. The brain's role in the comfort trap. Here's something fascinating. Your brain is wired to avoid pain and seek pleasure. It doesn't care about your 5-year goals, your dream house, or your vision board. It only cares about making sure you survive the next few minutes. And in ancient times, that worked perfectly. But now, we don't have lions chasing us. We have social media notifications, fast food, and binge-worthy TV. These things hijack the brain's reward system, making comfort more appealing than growth. This is why you can want to be consistent, but still hit snooze, still skip the hard work, still break your own promises. The turning point, making comfort uncomfortable. If comfort is the enemy of consistency, then the first step is to make comfort uncomfortable. I once read a quote from Thomas Edison. Opportunity is missed by most people because it is dressed in overalls and looks like work. Most people wait to feel like working before they start. But feelings are unreliable. You have to act your way into feeling, not wait to feel your way into acting. Here's a method I teach. The 5-minute rule. When you feel the pull of comfort, don't argue with yourself. Don't overthink. Just tell yourself, I'll do it for 5 minutes. 5 minutes of writing. 5 minutes of cleaning. 5 minutes of exercise. What happens is magical. Once you start, momentum takes over. 5 minutes becomes 30. 30 becomes an hour. And by the time you're done, you're proud you didn't let comfort win. The power of public promises. Another way to break free from the comfort trap is accountability. We are much less likely to quit when other people are watching. A friend of mine, Lena, wanted to write a book. For years, she told herself she'd start when she had time. Then one day, she announced on social media, I'm releasing the first chapter of my book on June 1st. Hold me to it. Suddenly, she had dozens of friends and family expecting results. And that pressure turned into fuel. On June 1st, her chapter was ready. Not because she suddenly had more time, but because she had more commitment. Small wins. The antidote to comfort. Consistency isn't built on giant leaps. It's built on tiny, unglamorous victories repeated daily. If you want to learn guitar, don't aim for a 2-hour practice every day. Start with 10 minutes. If you want to run a marathon, don't begin with 10 miles. Start with half a mile. Why? Because your brain resists big, painful changes, but it barely notices small ones. Small wins sneak past the brain's resistance, and before you know it, they stack into something powerful. The first enemy of consistency is not laziness, not lack of willpower. It is comfort disguised as harmless rest. If you want to force yourself to be consistent, you must recognize comfort for what it truly is. A sweet-tasting poison that keeps you from the life you could be living. Your journey starts when you decide that short-term comfort is not worth long-term regret. And once you make that decision, you'll be ready for the next step, building systems that make quitting impossible. Chapter 2, The Enemy Called Comfort. Let me tell you something that most people won't admit out loud. Consistency is not hard because the work is difficult. It's hard because comfort is delicious. It's like a warm blanket on a cold morning. You know you have to get up. You know the day is waiting for you, but your body whispers, stay just 5 more minutes. And those 5 minutes, they have destroyed more dreams than failure ever has. Think about it. Every time you skipped a workout, every time you postponed that big project, every time you've chosen Netflix over your goals, it wasn't because you lacked skill, it was because comfort won the war. The trap of the easy road. We humans are masters at building excuses. We wrap them in logic, so they sound smart. Oh, I'll start tomorrow. I deserve a rest day. This one time won't hurt. But here's the dangerous part. One missed day turns into 2. 2 turns into a week. A week turns into, well, I guess it's over now. And before you know it, your dream has been buried under a soft pillow of comfort. The Roman philosopher Seneca once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." He wasn't talking about wasting years. He was talking about wasting small, daily moments that could have been invested in something bigger. Comfort, silent power. Comfort doesn't fight you with fists. It fights you with a smile. It tells you that you worked hard enough already, that it's okay to slow down just this once. But the truth? Comfort is the silent thief of consistency. You won't notice it stealing from you until your progress is gone. This is why some people start strong but fade fast. They don't lose because they're weak. They lose because they underestimate comfort's power. Breaking the cycle. If you want to be consistent, you have to make a decision. Are you going to be a slave to comfort or a master of discipline? Here's a simple strategy. Make discomfort your friend. If your goal is to write every morning, train your brain to love the feeling of sitting down to write even when you're tired. If your goal is to work out, learn to appreciate the burn in your muscles. Because every time you win against comfort, you're building mental muscle, the kind that doesn't just help in one area, but in every area of your life. The warrior mindset. Picture a warrior on the battlefield. Does he wait until he feels ready to fight? No. He knows the enemy won't wait for his motivation to show up. That's how you must treat consistency, as a daily battle where the enemy is comfort and your weapon is action. Remember this. Action comes before motivation, not the other way around. Waiting to feel ready is just another disguise comfort wears. Chapter 3. Breaking the Cycle of Excuses. Let me tell you a small story. There was once a man named Rahim, a gifted painter who dreamed of creating a masterpiece that would outlive him. Every morning, he would wake up determined to paint, and every morning, he would find a reason to delay. I'm not in the mood. The light isn't perfect today. Maybe tomorrow I'll feel more inspired. Days became weeks, weeks became years, and his masterpiece remained in his imagination, never on canvas. Excuses are seductive. They dress themselves up as logic, as reason, as practicality. They sound convincing. But deep inside, you know they are nothing more than chains holding you back from consistency. If you want to force yourself to be consistent, you must first break the cycle of excuses. Not weaken it, not ignore it, break it entirely. 1. Identify your default excuses. Every person has a set of excuses they use repeatedly, like worn-out playing cards pulled from the same deck. Some people blame time. Some people blame resources. Some people blame motivation. Your job is to catch yourself in the act. The moment an excuse forms in your mind, write it down. Treat like a criminal caught red-handed. Why? Because excuses lose power when you drag them out of the shadows and expose them to the light of awareness. 2. Replace I can't with how can I. Your brain responds to the questions you ask it. If you ask, why am I so lazy? Your brain will give you a list of reasons why you're lazy. If you ask, how can I get this done today despite the challenges? Your brain will search for solutions instead of justifications. The language you use internally shapes your habits externally. Instead of saying, I don't have time to work out, say, how can I fit in a 15-minute workout before dinner? Consistency isn't about finding the perfect conditions. It's about moving forward despite imperfect ones. 3. The 2-minute action hack. Here's a trick. Whenever you feel resistance, shrink the task to its smallest possible version. If you don't feel like writing 1,000 words, commit to writing just 2 sentences. If you don't feel like running, commit to putting on your shoes and stepping outside. Often, once you start, momentum carries you further than you planned. The biggest barrier to consistency is starting, not continuing. 4. Hold yourself publicly accountable. Excuses thrive in privacy. If no one knows you skipped a day, you can silently let yourself off the hook. But when you make your commitment public, tell a friend, announce it on social media, or join a challenge, you invite social pressure. And social pressure, when used intentionally, can be a powerful ally. 5. Develop excuse awareness in real time. The moment you think, I'll do it tomorrow, pause. Ask yourself, is this a genuine reason or a disguised excuse? If my life depended on it, could I do it today? What would the most disciplined version of me do right now? Over time, this habit of awareness rewires your brain to detect and dismantle excuses before they take root. 6. Treat excuses as an enemy in disguise. Imagine you're a general in a war, and excuses are enemy spies sneaking into your camp. If you let them stay, they'll sabotage your mission from the inside. So the moment you catch one, throw it out. No negotiation, no sympathy. Raheem, the painter, never created his masterpiece because he treated his excuses like friends instead of enemies. You cannot build consistency while carrying excuses in your pocket. Drop them, crush them, and replace them with a single thought. I will find a way no matter what. Chapter 4: Building Unshakable Routines. Consistency is not about relying on motivation or willpower alone. Those are fleeting, like sparks in a storm. True consistency comes from routines so strong. They act automatically, almost as if your future self built them in your mind and body long before you consciously decided. Imagine a river carving a canyon through rock, not because the water is fierce, but because it never stops flowing. Your habits are the river. Your routines are the force that shapes your life. And the secret to forcing yourself to be consistent is learning to engineer your river. 1. Start with keystone habits. Not all habits are equal. Some are like tiny pebbles, pleasant but inconsequential. Others are keystone habits, small actions that spark a chain reaction, influencing everything else in your life. For example, making your bed every morning doesn't just tidy your room. It signals discipline, order, and the mindset of accomplishment. Journaling 5 minutes each morning primes your brain to focus, reflect, and plan effectively. Exercising, even briefly, releases energy and resilience that spill into work, relationships, and decision-making. Keystone habits anchor your day. They become rituals that the rest of your routines naturally cling to. 2. Stack your habits. One of the most powerful tools for building unshakable routines is habit stacking. It's simple. Attach a new habit to an existing one. Your brain loves familiarity, so by piggybacking on a current habit, you reduce friction. Example, every time you brush your teeth in the morning, do 10 push-ups. After your morning coffee, write 1 paragraph for your personal project. When you sit at your desk, review your top 3 priorities for the day. Small routines, stacked consistently, accumulate into a powerful web of unstoppable action. 3. Design your environment for success. Your surroundings are either allies or saboteurs of your consistency. If you want to write, leave your notebook or laptop open where you'll see it. If you want to exercise, keep your workout clothes and shoes ready in plain view. If you want to eat healthier, remove junk food from your kitchen. The simpler you make a desired action and the harder you make the unwanted one, the easier it becomes to force yourself to stick with it. Environment is a silent partner in every routine. Ignore at your own peril. 5. Embrace the power of tiny wins. Consistency is a marathon, not a sprint. And in marathons, it's the small steps that matter most. If you write just 1 page a day, you'll have 365 pages by the end of the year. If you run 1 mile daily, you'll run 365 miles. Tiny wins build momentum and confidence. They remind your brain, yes, I can do this. I've done it before. I will do it again. The key is not to underestimate the small stuff. Small wins stack invisibly, transforming ordinary days into extraordinary results. 6. Track and measure. You can't improve what you don't measure. Keep a simple habit tracker, a notebook, calendar, or app. Mark every day you complete your routine. The visual evidence of progress is incredibly motivating. The tracker serves 2 purposes. 1. It reinforces your commitment by showing progress over time. 2. It exposes gaps quickly, giving you a chance to correct course before inconsistency becomes a habit itself. The brain loves patterns. Tracking makes your consistency tangible and rewarding. 7. The 2-week challenge. One trick I often recommend is treating new routines as a 2-week experiment. Tell yourself, I'll follow this routine for 14 days, no excuses. 2 weeks is short enough to feel manageable, yet long enough for your brain to start wiring the routine into habit. Once the 14 days pass, the routine often becomes self-sustaining, and skipping it starts to feel unusual. Your body and mind learn that this is not optional. This is normal life. 8. Prepare for the unavoidable lapses. Even the best routines will face interruptions, travel, illness, emergencies. Consistency isn't perfection, it's resilience. The routine that survives these interruptions is unshakable. Here's the trick. Always have a minimal version of your routine. If you can't run 5 miles, run 1 mile. If you can't write 1,000 words, write 100. Showing up, even minimally, prevents breaks from turning into abandonment. Momentum is preserved. 9. Reward yourself strategically. The brain loves rewards. And reward doesn't have to be chocolate or shopping. It can be simple: a satisfied sigh, a short walk, a few minutes of music, or just acknowledging your own progress. Celebrating tiny victories reinforces routines and makes the act of consistency psychologically satisfying. 10. The routine becomes you. Over time, your routines will shape your identity. The person who writes every morning becomes a writer. The person who trains daily becomes an athlete. The person who studies and reflects becomes wise. Consistency doesn't just change what you do, it changes who you are. And when the routines are unshakable, forcing yourself to act becomes almost effortless. The work is done. Your system is your ally. Your habits carry you forward, even when your mood doesn't. Building unshakable routines is about creating a life where action is automatic. When your environment, habits, and cues align, consistency becomes less of a struggle and more of a natural flow. The river keeps moving, carving a path of unstoppable progress. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to remain consistent in chaos and setbacks, how to fight through life storms without losing momentum. Chapter 5: Consistency in Chaos. Life rarely unfolds as neatly as we plan. Storms hit without warning. Plans crumble. Energy dips. Motivation disappears. And in those moments, most people crumble too. But true consistency, the kind that changes destinies, is forged not in calm, predictable days, but in chaos. The person who can show up when everything seems against them is the one who wins the long game. Think of a tree in a hurricane. The wind bends it, thrashes it, tears its branches, but if the roots are strong, the tree survives, grows, and becomes stronger. Your routines, habits, and mindset are your roots. Chaos is a storm. 1. Accept chaos as inevitable. The first step to staying consistent in chaos is understanding one undeniable truth. Life will always be messy. Deadlines will collide. Unexpected problems will appear. Mood swings, illness, and fatigue will try to derail you. If you wait for perfect conditions, you will never move forward. There will never be a day when everything aligns perfectly. Your task is to act despite imperfection, not because of it. 2. Prepare for storms. Preparation doesn't just mean planning your tasks. It means building buffers and fallback plans. Have a minimal version of your routine ready for bad days. Keep simple emergency tasks that you can complete when life overwhelms you. Identify triggers that knock you off track and pre-decide how you will respond. Preparation transforms chaos from a threat into manageable obstacles. 3. Embrace the power of microactions. When the world seems like it's collapsing, focus on tiny, consistent actions. Write a paragraph instead of a chapter. Do 5 push-ups instead of a full workout. Meditate for 2 minutes instead of 20. Even in chaos, these microactions prevent your habits from eroding. They signal to your brain that no matter what, you keep moving forward. Momentum is built in inches, not miles. And in chaotic times, inches are all you need to survive and eventually thrive. 4. Emotional control as a consistency tool. Chaos often triggers emotion: stress, fear, frustration. Emotional reactions can derail your consistency faster than any external event. Learn to observe your feelings without surrendering to them. Take a deep breath before reacting. Ask yourself, will acting on this emotion help or hinder my progress? Anchor yourself in routine, not in emotion. Consistency in chaos is emotional resilience in motion. It's choosing action over reaction, purpose over panic. 5. The role of commitment. When life gets messy, weak commitments break. Strong commitments endure. Commitment is like concrete poured into a foundation. It doesn't matter if the wind shakes the building above. It holds everything together. Ask yourself, why am I doing this? What is my long-term vision? What will happen if I stop now? Strong answers to these questions anchor you to your routines, even when external chaos threatens to pull you off course. 6. Learn from setbacks. Setbacks are inevitable. Even the most consistent people face them. Instead of seeing failure as the end, see it as data. Ask, what went wrong and how can I adjust? Use setbacks to refine your system, strengthen your routines, and deepen your commitment. Chaos is not a sign of weakness. It's a training ground for unshakable consistency. 7. Build your consistency rituals. During chaos, rituals are your lifelines. Morning routines set your tone for the day. Evening reflection solidifies your wins and prepares you for tomorrow. Small triggers embedded into daily life make action almost automatic. Even if everything around you is unpredictable, your rituals give you predictable anchors to cling to. 8. Celebrate survival and progress. When chaos strikes, surviving and continuing your routine is a victory in itself. Recognize the small wins. Appreciate the days you didn't quit. Reinforce your identity as someone who shows up no matter what. This creates a positive feedback loop that strengthens consistency over time. Consistency in chaos is not about perfection. It's about showing up when others fall apart. It's about turning storms into training grounds, setbacks into lessons, and micro-actions into massive progress. When you master consistency in chaos, you gain something no storm can steal: unshakable momentum. And once momentum is built, even the fiercest hurricane cannot stop you. As we come to the end of this journey together, pause for a moment and think about the life you are building. One day at a time, one action at a time. Consistency is not flashy. It does not make headlines. It does not promise instant results. But it leaves a legacy that no chaos, no distraction, no fleeting motivation can ever erase. Imagine a stone dropped into a river. The ripples start small, barely noticeable. But over time, those ripples expand, touching shores you never imagined. That is the power of daily, consistent action. 1. Consistency is your invisible superpower. The truth is, few people understand the quiet magic of showing up day after day. While others wait for inspiration, you act. While others surrender to comfort, you persist. While others falter in chaos, you keep moving forward. This invisible superpower compounds quietly. It may seem slow, mundane, or unremarkable in the moment, but decades from now, you'll look back and see a life transformed. 2. Your future self will thank you. Every choice to act consistently is a gift to your future self. Every skipped excuse, every micro-action, every ritual followed, these are deposits into a bank account called your life. When your future self stands in the reality you dreamed of, they will thank the version of you that showed up when no one was watching. 3. The real victory. Consistency is not just about achieving goals. It's about building character. It is about creating a version of yourself who cannot be easily swayed, who cannot be derailed by emotion, by chaos, by fleeting desires. It is about becoming someone your own life can rely on. As the famous writer James Clear once said, "You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems." Your routines, habits, and daily actions are the bedrock of your legacy. Your ability to show up when it's hardest is what separates ordinary from extraordinary. 4. A call to action. So, what will you do tomorrow? Will you wait for the perfect conditions, the ideal mood, the spark of motivation? Or will you act anyway, tiny and perfect, but consistent actions that carry you forward? Your legacy is not in the grand moments. It is in the quiet, daily victories, repeated faithfully until your life becomes unshakable. The story of consistency is not about doing everything perfectly. It's about showing up again and again when it matters most. It's about turning chaos into opportunity, excuses into action, and small wins into monumental change. Be the person who does not stop. Be the person who persists. Be the person who forces themselves to be consistent, no matter the circumstances. And one day, when you look back at the life you've built, you will see a masterpiece created not in a day, not in a week, but one consistent act at a time. This is the power of showing up. This is the power of being relentless. This is your legacy. If the story inspired you, don't let the lesson stop here. Hit that subscribe button now and join the Storyteller family. Turn on the bell so you never miss a story that can change your life. Remember, showing up consistently is how great lives are built, just like we talked about today. Subscribe, stay inspired, and let's grow together.